if you grew up in an Asian household, there's a good chance that you learned that success wasn't optional. You know, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was telling me about how he was working the sales job that he absolutely hated, didn't feel aligned for him at all. Yet he felt this compulsion to need to get to a certain sales figure. I think it was like 5K or 10K a month, or maybe even more. I'm not too sure of the specifics. But he felt the strong need to get there. And he had told himself he wouldn't quit the job until he had reached that figure. So he worked and grinded in this job that was absolutely not aligned. And eventually he got to that figure and he felt relief that he could finally quit that job that he didn't enjoy. But when you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous, right? Needing to prove to somebody that it's okay, you know, that I can quit this job because I'm successful enough, I'm qualified enough, I'm warranted enough to leave this job now. Who was he really proving to? Right? Was he proving to himself? Was he proving to an external authority? Or was he proving to a projection that he had created in his mind, a construction that he had created in his mind, that he needed to succeed in order to be worthy? He needed to succeed in order to be able to pursue his passion. And I don't think this affects other ethnicities as much, although I'm sure it affects everybody across the board. But if you grew up in an Asian household, this pattern may be incredibly familiar, whether it's in a small sense or whether it's in a large sense. And in this video, I'm going to dive into exactly this pattern. And more importantly, I'm going to dive into how you can overcome this pattern, transcend this pattern, to take the good that you learn from this pattern, not to reduce your motivation, but actually to empower you in a really powerful way, where you aren't being dragged down by a pattern that is not completely aligned for your best purpose. Now, this pattern, it's not something you explicitly learned, right? Nobody sat you down and said, your worth is conditional depending on what you achieve. Nobody said that. Yet, it's something we have introjected. It's something that was in the air, right? You got praised when you were successful. And when you weren't, there may have been a harsh response. There may have been a lack of love, a lack of appreciation. And so you learned that love was derivative on results. This also plays into healthy attachment for you as a child and through the rest of your life. I've been reading this book over here, Attachment Disturbances in Adults, by Dr. Dan Brown, and it's a really phenomenal book. One of the important things they do in their treatment is actually for you to invoke the feeling of unconditional delight for no reason at all. This feeling of these ideal parent figures, which is part of their protocol, expressing unconditional delight for you for no reason at all. Just for you being you, without needing to accomplish, without needing you to perform or be somebody. But before that, we're going to keep diving. Let's dive in a bit further into this pattern. And so you got really good at achieving. And it worked, right? In the sense that it got you where you needed to get to at the time. And you may have been praised. You may have been actually really successful at things in your life. But there's always a cost, right? And it shows up later in ways that are very easy to miss. So the issue isn't that the drive to succeed is the problem. The problem is that achievement becomes the primary source of self-worth. Because that's a construct that you're holding. It's not the truth. And like all constructs, the construct quietly shapes what's available to you long after it stopped being useful. So how does this construct actually formed? Well, over time, there's this quiet accumulation that occurs, right? So the A got the warmth, the B got a look. So you do more A, you don't want to get the B. The cousin that got into medicine became the reference point for every family conversation for the next 5 years. The implicit message that love, approval, and safety were available, and perhaps love, safety, and approval were available, but the underlying or implicit message is they had to be earned. This isn't something you consciously decided to do. You didn't consciously decide to base your self-worth on results. The environment just made it the most available, most reliable way to feel okay. So your mind created a system around it in order for you to receive that love, that approval, and that acceptance. So what is this construct comprised of? I can break it down into three elements or pillars that hold up this construct. The first is the memory, right? A pattern of experiences where achievement produced safety and approval, and falling short produced withdrawal, disappointment, or shame. I highly recommend actually journaling this and writing down these memories, writing down where some of the key memories that you remember from your childhood, where this pattern played out. And these memories caused you to believe something. So what is the belief? The belief could be, my value is determined by what I produce. And this belief may not even feel like a belief. It might feel like an obvious truth. It might feel like, wait, isn't that the fact of reality? Like, you just have to work to be worthy. So it just feels so obvious that, you know, you haven't really even started to question it. And then there's this bodily response, right? So we have an emotional response, and there also may be sort of a bodily response or contraction when you deal with a scenario where you feel like you have to achieve, right? When you get slightly triggered, or you remember a memory, or you are in a situation where you feel like, yeah, I need to get that metric. I need to get that sale. I need to get to 10K a month. And you might notice there's actually a background anxiety. There's a background hum that's quietly there when not achieving or thinking about achieving. There might be an inability to rest without guilt, or a compulsive checking of whether you're doing enough. You know, you might feel like no matter what you do, it's just never enough. You know, you hit a milestone, it's still not enough. And you get to the next place, and it's still not enough. And secretly, your mind is this false finish line, and you think that you will get there through this accomplishment. And when you get to that finish line, that's when you can finally relax and just finally let go. But I'm very sorry to disappoint you, but there's no finish line in life. It's like a dandelion flower, right? The flower is growing, growing, growing. And you can ask yourself, or you can ask the question, what is the best point in the flower's journey, right? Is it when it's fully bloomed? Is it where it's half there? If it's growing, it's forming? Is it where, you know, the first petals are merging? What's the best point? Or maybe it's when it's like wilting and dying, right? Because it's a bit old, or the weather's come out and made it crinkle away. What is the best point in the journey of that flower? Well, if you think about it, there is no best point. Every point in the journey of the flower is the best point, right? There's no best point. We choose what that best point is. We choose what the finish line is. We choose when we most like the flower. In other words, there's no truth about what is best for the flower, when is the best point in the flower's journey. These are all human mental constructs that we have projected onto the flower. And this is exactly what we do in our life. We project ideas, we project concepts, and those ideas and concepts constrict how we live our life. The good news is we can look at the lies that we've put onto ourselves. We can free ourselves from these lies, and we can live a better, more satisfied life. And when we free ourselves from these lies, a new construct may come, and it may emerge naturally and more spontaneously. This construct will come from a healthier, more healed place. So this construct that you may be holding, it's quiet, right? It's quiet, it's efficient, it's invisible, because from the inside it just feels like ambition. You're not even questioning it. It's just part of who you are. And it's really effective. It produces results, which is partly why it's so hard to see it as a problem. You just take it for granted. But look at what runs alongside this pattern. Rest feels like falling behind. So a recovery without output isn't recovery, but might not feel like recovery. It may actually be a source of low-grade anxiety. Your body is still, but your mind is still tracking. It's still needing to perform. It's trying to measure. It's trying to create outcomes. Maybe success doesn't land. You hit your target. Instead of satisfaction, there's a brief moment of neutral followed by the next target. So you feel, okay, bit of relief, next target, bit of relief, the next target. And the achievement doesn't actually update the belief, because the belief isn't rational, it's structural. No result is ever enough to permanently resolve the underlying question of, am I enough? Success is all good and well, but you may notice that failure literally feels catastrophic. Like, it feels terrible. And not because of any practical consequences, but because the self-worth is load-bearing on achievement. Any significant failure threatens the entire structure. It literally feels like the structure is going to crumble. So the response isn't just like a lighthearted, like, oh, okay, I got this wrong. This is cool. This is chill. I can try something else. I can iterate it. It may actually feel like something closer to like, I am wrong. Like me, I am wrong. I'm defective, rather than like, oh yeah, I didn't do something as well as I could have done. Oh well. As you can see, the pressure, the intensity, this wears down on your energy, it wears down on your mood, your self-esteem, and how you feel. Eventually it can lead to even burnout, and this happens with so many people. This might also affect your relationships, right? If you're running a construct that is earned through performance, you may notice relationships actually start to become slightly performative. You're measuring performance, you're measuring or trying to get to a certain outcome, or if it be in terms of like dating, you might want to hit a certain target of dates that you're getting like every week or every month, or skills or something like that. So you may have this performative aspect, and it might even come up in friendships or relationships. You might want to show up as the successful one, or the capable one, or the one that has it all together. And real intimacy, deep authenticity, being seen without the performance, this feels very dangerous because it shatters the walls of and the boundaries that you've potentially created for yourself in order to come across as successful. But ultimately that is partly for yourself, because you feel like, if I don't feel successful internally, that means I'm not enough. That means I'm not worthy. You're constantly trying to look for reinsurance in yourself or in the external world to validate that, hey, I'm successful, I'm here, I am enough. Another problem is you might actually start to struggle in understanding what you want, because maybe you've been told what you should want from a young age. These are professions that you should want to get into, like being a doctor, lawyer, or something like that, right? And so your genuine desire that should be screaming out right now is very hard to hear. It's being obscured by the pattern, and certain things or certain actions may feel like the thing you have to do because they are what successful people to do. But what do you want underneath all of that? This may feel quite unclear for you right now. Now you might be thinking, hey Dylan, I kind of know everything you've talked about in this video, but I'm still feeling this way, right? I have a lot of insight. I've heard this before. I've seen some Instagram posts from some Asian dudes, and they've talked about this, but I'm still feeling the same, right? I'm still playing out the same patterns, and I just feel frustrated that I'm playing out the same patterns. Well, here's the thing. You can know something intellectually. You can name it. You can think about it cognitively. But knowing isn't the same as actually updating the underlying construct and performing the healing work. Performing the healing work is where you actually become free to shift that construct into a construct that is serving you better. This isn't something we can CBT, although that might be useful. It's not something we can just cognitively reframe and say, okay, if I'm thinking this, I'm just going to change my thought. I'm just going to change what I do. And you can keep doing that, and underneath the pattern is still there. It's only so long you can keep reframing and running away from the construct, the core seed that is creating this shadow tree and the set of behaviors and playing out. We also know that so much trauma and belief is actually stored in the body. It's stored in what is what you feel like is safe in the nervous system. It's a very automatic response. You've had years of wiring yourself in a particular way, and the nervous system feels very familiar in that way. So just trying to change your thoughts, probably not going to work. If it's simple enough to do that, and you do get a good result, let me know. But from what I'm aware, for most people, that simply will not be sufficient. So you can know that my worth isn't determined by my output, and still feel profoundly unsettled when you're not producing. You can believe intellectually and be completely unable to resist. The knowing and the construct are operating at different levels, and the construct is often deeper. And this is why the reframing doesn't stick. Positive mindsets and affirmations and all the these type of things, they work at the narrative layer, which is closer to the surface. The construct is underneath it. So let's get to the construct. The construct needs to be updated at the level it's held, which is the body, the memory, and the belief, not just the thought. So let's think about it firstly in the memory layer. These were the experiences where approval was conditional. So what can be great to do is to think about these memories where approval was conditional. And this can be triggering, right? You may feel sensations come up. What you want to do is you want to sit in this and hold a space of unconditional positive regard. If this is very hard to do, I highly recommend practicing a lot of loving kindness meditation or metta, or getting somebody to facilitate you through this, because I totally understand this can be a lot for people to do themselves, especially if they haven't built the skill set of emotional regulation. So you want to think of the memory of the past. We can think about doing that. We can do that right now together, actually. Let's bring up a memory of the past. You may notice sensations in the body that feel really uncomfortable. You may notice certain thoughts, certain beliefs. And you may start to see, okay, what did I believe? As a young child, what did I learn? Then what emotions relate to this, right? Certain emotions, feel those emotions, notice those emotions. Notice where in the body this is presenting itself, you can dive into, really feel the soma, the somatic sensations. We can hold ourselves here. You can imagine or do inner child healing work at this space, and actually you can see that little child that just wanted love, wanted appreciation. You can give that child a hug. You can say it's okay. You can now imagine being the parent, giving that child a hug, and holding it, just giving it delight, unconditional delight and unconditional love for no reason at all. And meeting its needs, right? Asking that child, what did you need in that moment? Right? Did it just need to be hugged or felt or attuned to? So then you can attune to that. You can attune and give that child exactly what it needs in that moment, just by imagining giving it those needs. And this can be really powerful in bringing up emotions. It can be a really symbolic way. This is a very symbolic way of shifting your relationship. Can be a really symbolic way of remapping that relational template by giving that child some of the needs that it may not have had at that time, right? And if you, I would highly recommend looking at Ideal Parent Figure Protocol, IPF. Just search up online IPF meditation and practice one of those meditations by Dan Brown or somebody else. There's quite a few, and they're just really great meditations to do. So you can do the meditation, and after giving that child a hug, and imagining you're the parent giving the child a hug, you can do it in the opposite as well. So imagine you're the child and you're seeing the parents give you the hug. So do it in both directions. You be the child and receive the warmth and love from these ideal parents or your older self, and then imagine being the older self, supporting and affirming and giving love and delight to the child. And doing it in both directions is really a really powerful therapeutic modality. We can also look at what we introjected in that moment, right? When we were with our parents or other people in our environment, and we can look at what belief did we take on. Like, I took this belief that my worth was conditional on my success, and I felt like I would be abandoned if I didn't perform. It felt like I would be abandoned. Doesn't mean I would actually be abandoned, but for that child, it maybe felt like that, right? That was unconsciously introjected. So we can imagine giving that belief back, symbolically giving that back, saying, this does not serve me anymore, giving that back. That helps to release it, right? Then emotionally letting that emotion go, letting that construct go, that is producing a shift. So if you can sit in that space, performing the healing work, performing or using different modalities that not just engage the cognitive brain, but also engage the emotions, engage the soma, and engage the body, engage symbolic aspects like imagination and giving away the belief, right? Putting the belief in the fire, using the imagination, doing some inner child sort of healing work and feeling love and engaging emotions. What you'll notice is this pattern will actually start to shift. In fact, you can now think about certain memories and the emotional charge actually will have disappeared. And this is great. You want to sit in this feeling of emptiness, this feeling of, wow, there's like a lot less here. And maybe it won't all go away. Maybe it goes away 70%, but that's great. That's what you want.